On the desolate Nevada highway, the sunset blazed a fiery red, like blood staining the sky, as a monstrous truck roared forward with a deafening growl. By the roadside, a young woman with disheveled hair clutched the hand of a small boy, her eyes wild with panic. Across from them stood a man in an exquisite tailored suit, his piercing gaze trembling with unspoken fear, frozen in place. He was a millionaire, a man who had never known dread, yet now his heart felt as if it were being crushed in a vice. In a fleeting moment, everything could vanish into oblivion. What had brought them to this fateful crossroads? Could a wealthy but lonely father uncover the true meaning of life through this tragedy? Join us to unravel this deeply moving story, and subscribe to our channel now to never miss these inspiring tales, airing every night at 10 p.m. on YouTube. Under the crimson Nevada sunset, Vincent guided his Bentley smoothly along the silent highway. At 42, he was the epitome of success. A self-made millionaire who built a financial empire from nothing. Tall and commanding, with silver-flecked hair, his custom-tailored suit clung perfectly to his frame, a gleaming Patek Philippe watch sparkling on his wrist. Every detail crafted an image of Vincent as flawless, untouchable. Yet beneath this radiant facade lay a withered heart, cracked a decade ago when a bitter divorce stole the warmth of family. He lived alone in a sprawling Las Vegas mansion, its cold walls only occasionally echoing the laughter of Oliver, his 10-year-old son, during rare weekend visits. Vincent loved Oliver, but that love was buried beneath endless meetings, multi-million-dollar deals, and an invisible fear. Fear of being hurt again. He had built a barrier, locking away all true emotions, turning himself into a perfectly functioning but hollow machine. That day, driving to pick up Oliver from his mother's, he had no inkling that a single moment would shake his entire world. In the distance, Lily trudged along the dusty road, her broken bicycle abandoned by the wayside. At 27, she was a bartender at a roadside dive, her curly brown hair a tangled mess, her emerald eyes gleaming with resilience. But deep within those eyes lay the scars of a deprived childhood, where she watched her mother drown in inescapable debt. Lily didn't dream of castles or spotlights. She longed only for a day to live authentically, free from hiding her pain behind a smile. That evening, as the sunset painted the sky in shades of fire, she caught sight of a boy standing alone by the road, far from the polished Bentley. The boy, Oliver, had wide, round eyes that held a universe of loneliness, piercing Lily's heart. Without thinking, she approached, her gentle voice breaking the stillness. She spoke softly, and somehow her hand found his, an instinctive act of protection, as if she could shield him from the world's cold indifference. From inside the car, Vincent watched the scene, a sudden, inexplicable fire igniting in his chest. He flung open the door, his polished leather shoes hitting the ground, his gaze as cold as ice. He couldn't bear the sight of a stranger holding his son's hand as if she were trespassing on his private domain. His voice was sharp, demanding Lily release Oliver, yet deep down, he couldn't fathom why his anger burned so fiercely. Perhaps it was Lily's eyes, not defiant, not fearful, but filled with a profound sadness, as if she saw the emptiness in his soul. She stood there, hair whipping in the wind, unwavering, her hand still clasping Oliver's, a silent vow that she wouldn't leave the boy alone. In that moment, time seemed to halt. A terrifying roar tore through the air. A massive truck, out of control, barreled toward them, its blinding headlights like a beast in a rage. Vincent's scream was all he could muster, his heart seeming to stop. He lunged toward Oliver, but his body felt too slow, too heavy. Lily, in a split second, moved as if guided by an unseen force. She yanked Oliver into her arms, and the three of them tumbled to the roadside, dust swirling in clouds. The screech of metal colliding rang out, piercing, like a song of fate. As the dust settled, Vincent opened his eyes, his breath ragged. Oliver lay safe in Lily's embrace, his eyes wide with panic but unharmed. Vincent dropped to his knees, pulling his son close, but his heart felt shattered. He had nearly lost everything, not because of the truck, but because of the distance he had created himself. He looked at Lily, her gaze still tender yet distant, as if she understood this moment was more than an accident. It was a wake-up call. Vincent said nothing, but within him, a crack had formed in that invisible wall, letting in a faint glimmer of hope. In the opulent office, where the light from a crystal chandelier cast perfect glimmers on every surface, Vincent sprawled across a leather sofa, his gaze lost in a void. Outside, the city of Las Vegas dazzled with its vibrant lights, but within him, there was only darkness. He had spent a lifetime mastering control over millions in wealth, tightly packed schedules, and even the emotions he buried deep. But that moment on the highway had shattered everything. The image of Lily's hand, a stranger's hand, gripping Oliver's tightly haunted him like a wound that bled without end. That young woman, with her tangled hair and resilient emerald eyes, had acted faster than he could, shielding his son from danger without a thought for her own safety. Vincent questioned himself. If Lily hadn't been there, would he have had the courage to leap into that razor-thin line between life and death? The question struck like a blade, slicing deep into his pride. He glanced at Oliver's photo on the desk, the boy's wide, round eyes seeming to challenge him, as if asking why a powerful father like him had left him so alone. For the first time, Vincent realized he wasn't just a distant father. He was a coward, fleeing from true love out of fear of being hurt again. Not far away, in a modest apartment with peeling walls, Lily sat by the window, pale moonlight spilling across the worn wooden floor. She couldn't shake the memory of that day, when the truck's roar seemed to swallow the world whole. She didn't know who Vincent was, only sensing a strange solitude radiating from him, a man trapped in his own realm where money and power couldn't fill the void. She recalled Oliver's eyes, innocent, yet yearning for love, a mirror reflecting her own deprived childhood. Lily wondered why a wealthy father like Vincent would let his son stand alone by the roadside, a solitary figure adrift in the stream of life. She didn't blame him, but a profound sadness welled within her, as if they were both running from an unseen wound. That night, as streetlights flickered through the window, Lily opened her journal, her slanted handwriting spilling across the page. Today, I saved a boy, but I feel the one who needs saving most is his father. Those words were like a whisper, entrusted to the quiet night. A week later, Vincent found himself before the door of a roadside bar, his heart pounding as fiercely as it had when he signed his first $1 million deal. He didn't know why he was there, only that he needed to see Lily, the woman who had shaken the fortress around his heart. The bar was small, its golden lights mingling with the scent of whiskey and cigarette smoke, creating a space both warm and weary. Lily stood behind the counter, her worn apron hugging her slender frame, her smile a small flame warming the entire room. When her eyes met Vincent's, a flicker of surprise crossed her face, but she quickly regained her calm, resuming her task of wiping glasses. Vincent sat down, ordering a whiskey, his hands clenching to mask his unease. For the first time in his life, he, a man who controlled every conversation, felt words catch in his throat. He wanted to thank her, to apologize, but all he could muster was a curt, "You saved my son." Lily looked up, her gaze soft as a still lake. She smiled, her voice gentle. "I just did what anyone would do." But Vincent knew not everyone would have done what she did. Lily's actions weren't mere instinct. They were a courage he had long lost. He sat there, the cold whiskey in his hand, feeling a faint light seeping through the cracks in his heart. In that moment, he didn't just see Lily. He saw himself, a man in desperate need of redemption. In the days following the harrowing incident on the highway, Vincent felt a slow but powerful stirring deep within his soul. He began spending more time with Oliver, taking the boy to the park where sunlight filtered through the trees, casting a gentle glow over father and son. They played basketball together, Oliver's clear, ringing laughter echoing through the air, yet each smile from the boy cut into Vincent's heart like a razor, a piercing reminder of the years wasted in emptiness. Sitting on a wooden bench, he watched Oliver run and leap, the boy's eyes sparkling as he spoke of his dream to become an astronaut, to touch the distant stars. Vincent realized no million-dollar deal, no Patek Philippe watch, could ever buy the moment when Oliver ran to him, wrapping him in a tight embrace, that small warmth like a balm soothing his parched spirit. But change was not easy. Each night as darkness enveloped the sprawling mansion, the image of the roaring truck haunted him, dragging with it the memory of the moment he nearly lost everything. Vincent knew he had to atone, not just for Oliver, but for himself. The man who had lived too long in the grip of control and fear. Meanwhile, at the roadside bar, Lily toiled through endless shifts, the dim golden light illuminating her face, where a smile always concealed the scars of her past. She often thought of Vincent and Oliver, not with curiosity, but with an ineffable longing. She didn't expect to see them again, yet deep down, she hoped Vincent would find light in his cold, lonely life, that he would become the father Oliver needed. One afternoon, while wiping down the counter, she received an envelope from a stranger. Inside was a check for a sum large enough to erase the debts that weighed down her life, enough to let her start anew. No sender's name was given, but Lily knew it was from Vincent. She felt no anger, but her heart grew heavy. Money to her was not the answer. She packaged the check and sent it back, along with a hastily written note. "Thank you, but I don't need the money. Please give it to Oliver." As she sent it, a wave of relief washed over her, as if she had reaffirmed her own worth, not through numbers but through sincerity. When Vincent received the note, he sat in the shadowed silence of his office, the desk lamp's light falling on Lily's slanted handwriting. A tumult of emotions surged within him, shame for believing money could solve everything, and gratitude for Lily showing him a simple yet painful truth. Not everything could be bought. For the first time, he looked in the mirror and saw a man not just wealthy, but flawed, needing to learn how to love and live authentically. From that moment, Vincent embarked on a journey of redemption. He donated to organizations supporting children, the funds no longer a shield for his loneliness, but a pledge to change. He attended talks on parenting, listening to others' stories, slowly learning to open his heart. Most crucially, he began to heed his own heart, allowing long-suppressed emotions to rise, painful but real. One day, under the soft Las Vegas sunlight, Vincent invited Lily to a small cafe. He came not to thank her, but to apologize, to face his mistakes. In the space filled with the aroma of roasted coffee, he spoke of the fears that had imprisoned him, fear of being hurt, of losing control, of being unworthy of Oliver's love. His words, though clumsy, were sincere, like a river breaking through a dam. Lily listened without judgment, her emerald eyes glinting with understanding. She softly shared her own struggles, her impoverished childhood, and her dream of living true. In that moment, they were no longer a millionaire and a bartender, but two souls seeking to heal deep wounds. Sunlight streamed through the window, bathing them in a warm glow, as if whispering that, no matter how painful the past, there was always hope for a new beginning. On a late summer afternoon, golden sunlight stretched across the Nevada highway as Vincent drove his Bentley, with Oliver, his 10-year-old son, beside him, his tousled hair and innocent smile lighting up the moment. It was their first camping trip together, a simple journey carrying the hope of mending the distance that had lingered too long between them. The breeze swept through the open window, carrying the scent of freedom, and Vincent felt a rare lightness, as if his heart were learning to beat anew. Oliver hummed a tune, his clear, bird-like voice softening the sharp edges of Vincent's soul. But the tranquil moment shattered when the radio crackled with an urgent news bulletin, the announcer's voice frantic. A crash on the highway, a truck with failed brakes. The word truck struck Vincent's chest like a hammer. Memories of that terrifying day on the highway flooded back. The screeching metal, the swirling dust, the dread of nearly losing Oliver. His grip tightened on the steering wheel, knuckles whitening, sweat beading on his forehead. He glanced at Oliver, still humming carefree, his eyes gleaming like the stars he dreamed of reaching. In that instant, a fierce resolve ignited within Vincent, a flame bursting from ashes. He could not let fear rule him again. He pulled over, hands trembling as he dialed the rescue team, but his heart urged something greater. Defying Oliver's puzzled look, he turned the car around, racing toward the crash site. When he arrived, the scene was a nightmare reborn. A massive truck lay overturned, black smoke billowing, flames licking its frame. The driver, a middle-aged man, was trapped in the cab, his eyes pleading in panic. The crowd stood back, helpless, but Vincent didn't hesitate. He plunged forward, ignoring the searing heat and acrid smoke. His hands groped for the mangled door, yanking with all his strength, his body straining under the effort. With a final surge, he pulled the driver free, stumbling to the ground just as a deafening explosion erupted, flames engulfing the truck. The rescue team arrived, their eyes fixed on Vincent with awe, as if he were a hero from a fairy tale. But to Vincent, this was no triumph. It was his redemption for that cowardly moment when he stood frozen, watching Lily protect Oliver in his stead. He stood there, breath ragged, heart pounding, not from fear this time, but because he had finally faced himself. Miles away, at the roadside bar, Lily wiped down the counter, the dim golden light casting a glow on her face, where a smile always hid the scars of her past. A regular customer, voice brimming with excitement, recounted the highway crash, the tale of a wealthy man who risked his life to save a driver from a burning truck. When Vincent's name was mentioned, Lily's hand paused, her eyes flickering with surprise before softening. She wasn't shocked, but her heart swelled with an indescribable pride. She knew Vincent had found courage, not just to save a stranger, but to free himself from the prison of loneliness and fear. That night, in her modest apartment, she opened her phone, fingers gliding lightly across the screen, typing a brief message. "You did it." She sent it without expecting a reply, but her smile was like the full moon, gentle and complete. She felt it, somewhere in the city aglow with lights. Vincent was beginning to live true to his heart. When Lily's message lit up his screen, Vincent sat in his mansion, the desk lamp's light illuminating his face, where wrinkles now bore the marks of transformation. He read the words, a rare smile breaking across his lips, soft but genuine. For the first time in years, he felt truly alive, not merely existing amid contracts and false glamour, but living with the full spectrum of emotions he had once denied. He gazed out the window, where Las Vegas's lights twinkled like stars, and in that moment, he knew his journey was just beginning, but he had found the path to the light. Time flowed quietly, like a stream smoothing the jagged edges of the past, and within the sprawling Las Vegas mansion, Vincent gradually rediscovered the warmth he thought had been lost forever. The cold walls, once echoing only the lonely sound of his footsteps, now resonated with the clear, joyful laughter of Oliver, the 10-year-old boy with tousled hair and eyes that sparkled like stars. Cozy dinners, illuminated by the soft flicker of candlelight on the dining table, became the heart of Vincent's life. He sat there, listening as Oliver recounted tales of school basketball games and dreams of soaring into space, each word from the boy a heartbeat reminding Vincent of what he had nearly lost. No longer the distant father hiding behind multi-million-dollar contracts and a facade of glamour, he became a companion, a guide, ready to kneel and tie Oliver's shoelaces or spend hours by his side assembling a model spaceship. Though still a millionaire, still steering his financial empire with an iron hand, Vincent had learned to place family above all, letting love guide him instead of fear. Every evening as he held Oliver close before bedtime, he felt his heart beat steadily, no longer imprisoned in the cage of solitude. Not far away, in a quiet corner of the city, Lily was penning a new chapter of her life. With savings scraped together from long, grueling shifts at the bar, she opened a small cafe, where the aroma of roasted coffee mingled with sunlight streaming through the windows. The cafe was more than a place to serve fragrant lattes. It was a sanctuary where she shared inspiring stories with customers, strangers who arrived carrying their own sorrows or hopes. Lily stood behind the counter, a new apron replacing the worn one of old, but her smile remained as warm as moonlight, gentle yet resilient. She was no longer the girl shackled by debts or the shadows of a deprived childhood. Instead, she lived true to herself, each day a testament to her triumph over darkness to find light. Her cafe became a haven for lost souls, and in every story she told, there was a trace of Vincent and Oliver, a quiet nod to that fateful day on the highway. Vincent and Lily met occasionally, not in moments of romance or high drama, but in the simple comfort of friendship. They sat in Lily's cafe, bathed in soft golden sunlight, sipping coffee and sharing glimpses of their lives. There were no promises or expectations, only a profound understanding between two people who had once stood at the edge of pain. Vincent, his silver-flecked hair and now gentler eyes, spoke of his progress as a father, of the joy in watching Oliver grow surrounded by love. Lily listened, her emerald eyes gleaming with pride, as if she saw her own healing reflected in his journey. In return, she shared the challenges and small joys of building her cafe, of customers who found hope in her stories. They were not lovers, unbound by conventional labels, but two souls who had walked through darkness together and emerged into light on the other side. Each time they parted, they smiled, knowing that no matter where life led them, an invisible thread of compassion bound them forever. In the Las Vegas twilight, as the city began to glow with radiant lights, Vincent and Lily, each in their own way, had uncovered the true meaning of life. Vincent's mansion was no longer a tomb of loneliness, but a home brimming with love. Lily's cafe was not just a workplace, but a beacon warming wayward hearts. They, once two parallel lines destined never to meet, had crossed paths in a moment of fate, weaving together a story of healing and hope. Beneath a star-filled sky, they moved forward, carrying the light they had found, not only for themselves but for those around them. Beneath the radiant Nevada sunset, the story of Vincent and Lily transcends a mere highway accident, unfolding into a profound journey of rediscovering life's true meaning. Vincent, once a prisoner of his own solitude, learned to open his heart and embrace love. From a self-made millionaire with a barren soul, he stepped beyond the invisible walls he had built, becoming the father and friend Oliver had always yearned for. The vast Las Vegas mansion, once resounding only with the cold echo of lonely footsteps, now brimmed with laughter and the warmth of family dinners. Vincent, his silver-flecked hair and now softer eyes, came to understand that no amount of wealth or power could rival the moment Oliver ran to hug him, or the sparkling gaze as the boy shared dreams of conquering the stars. His journey was not just change, it was a rebirth, where he learned to face fear with courage and love without calculation. Each step Vincent took proved that no matter how heavy the past, the heart can always find a path to the light. Lily, an ordinary young woman with curly brown hair and resilient emerald eyes, became a beacon for lost souls. From a bartender living in a modest apartment, she overcame the shadows of a deprived childhood to forge a life of purpose. Her small cafe, where the scent of roasted coffee blended with sunlight, was more than a workplace. It was a sanctuary of healing. There she shared inspiring stories, fragments of compassion and hope, with customers carrying their own sorrows or dreams. Lily sought neither fame nor recognition, yet her actions, from grasping Oliver's hand on the highway to rejecting Vincent's check, radiated a simple yet powerful light. She was proof that sometimes the most ordinary people can spark extraordinary change, not through power or wealth, but through sincerity and courage. The lesson from their story shines like the stars in the Nevada sky. It is never too late to change, to heal, to live true to your heart. Vincent, once a man afraid of love, learned to embrace it, letting it guide him through the darkness. Lily, shaped by hardship, chose to illuminate others' lives, even in the simplest ways. Their story reminds us that everyone bears a wound, but also the strength to overcome it, to find meaning in moments that seem mundane. No matter who you are or where you stand, you have the chance to rewrite your own story, to step out of the shadows and toward the light. Life, as Vincent and Lily have shown, is not about what you possess, but what you choose to give. If you're in America, let stories like this touch your heart. Subscribe to our channel to experience these inspiring journeys, airing every night at 10 p.m. on YouTube. Each story is a small flame waiting to spread. Share Vincent and Lily's journey with those you cherish, so together we can kindle sparks of hope in this world. Under a star-filled sky, believe that the light is always there, waiting for you to reach out and touch it.